Let's rock it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, on Mac Sports and the Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook pages. We're also on the Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel, Twitter, and Instagram. Please subscribe to our Northeast Streaming Sports YouTube channel for all the great shows on Northeast Streaming Sports. And our website, Jack, is nessp.info. People, check it out. We got all our guests on there. We have all the shows on there. We have stores. We have links to our stores on there. As I said, I'm Mac with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, legendary boxing writer and former president of the Boxing Writers Association of America, bringing you national sports with special focus on the Northeast professional sports from New York, Boston, and Philly. How you doing today, Jack?
I'm doing well, Mac. I'm so relaxed. Don't start up with a controversial issue to get me going. I want to have a really relaxed show today. I mean, I'm so calm and such a good mood today. Don't get me started, man.
Okay. Yeah, Jack, where I work, my other job at a restaurant where I'm a chef at, it got closed down because of COVID, a couple positive tests. I went and got tested yesterday, and the quick test says I'm negative. So I guess that's good. I want to be positive in most things, but I guess when it comes to COVID, I want to be negative. So we're just waiting for the restaurant to open back up again. So I got a few days just to kind of watch some sports for a change, and that's very nice.
I mean, we're not out of the woods as far as COVID, goes. And even though people are getting the vaccines, we want to be careful. We don't want to be reckless in that sense, but the businesses have to run. Life has to, continue and go on. And I hate to see businesses having to be shut down because it affects so many people.
Well, definitely, Jack. So hopefully we got those long tests we're waiting on. It takes 3 days to get results. So far, we're all negative except for the 2 that were tested positive. So that's enough of that. Basketball, Jack. And, I love doing our basketball review. I love doing all our reviews, really, where we go ahead and we break things down and kind of take a look in depth, a little bit more in depth than we do normally, where we normally just run our updates. So, in the West, Jack, the Jazz are 39-13 in first. The Suns are second, 36-15. The Clippers are 35-18. Denver at 33-18, followed by the Lakers, Portland, Dallas, and Grizzlies. In the East, the Nets are in first place, half game over the 76ers. The Bucks are in third at 32-19. Charlotte at 26-24, followed by Miami, Milwaukee, Celtics, and the Knicks. So the Jazz, Jack, continue their winning ways as they beat Portland 122-103.
But Matt, 23 in a row at home for the Jazz, and someone's going to have to beat them at home during the playoffs. That's not going to be easy to do.
I agree, Jack. I definitely agree with that. They're a big surprise this year, and they got a very good team. In news, George Hill from the 76ers says he'll be back before the playoffs. So the 76ers getting a big piece when the playoffs start. I don't know if that's going to help.
I don't know if George Hill's such a big piece per se. You talk about difference makers. If you talk about difference makers on the 76ers, you talk about Joe Embiid, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons. I mean, those are the real difference makers. Listen, the bench, the other starters important, all players important. Don't get me wrong. But they're important players, important pieces, and then they're difference makers. And the difference makers are the ones that really ultimately win the NBA championship.
I definitely agree, but there are, like you said, difference makers. I mean, I know there's a lot of guys that come off the bench, 3-point shooters that have been on multiple world championship teams. I don't know if George Hill is that caliber or not.
But we're just talking about Utah. Clarkson, great
Yeah.
3-point shooter, comes off the bench for Utah. But the difference makers there, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. I mean, those are the difference makers. Gobert on defense. I mean, he's not a scorer, but he contributes so mightily on defense.
I definitely agree. So in the games, Jack, the Bulls beat Toronto 122-113, Miami 110, Lakers 104. Cleveland beats the Thunder 129-102. The Clippers over the Suns 113-103. Detroit beats the Kings 113-101. So Lakers continue to kind of fall off, win one, lose one. You know, they're still stuck in fifth place. Of course, with LeBron being out, Anthony Davis not playing all the time. So good morning to Nathan Seymour from the Big Blue Wrecking Crew. It's a great day to join us. We'll have Byron Williams, former wide receiver of the Giants, on. So he'll be on when our NFL.
You know, you're talking NBA, and the Knicks are the 8th seed right now. And behind them are the Indiana Pacers by a game or so, and the Chicago Bulls a couple of games behind. Don't go to sleep on the Chicago Bulls. During the trade deadline, they actually made a big deal that no one talks about. They got the center from the Orlando Magic, the all-star center, Vucevic.
Right.
And he's playing really, really well for the Bulls. He's a force. And if you look at this Bull team, they can catch the Knicks. They have the personnel to do it. And if Indiana comes on and they're right behind the Knicks still have their work cut out for them to make, the playoffs. And if they don't make the playoffs, like we said yesterday, as far as I'm concerned, the year hasn't been a success for the Knicks if they don't make the playoffs.
I agree with that 100%, Jack. And speaking of that, Friday is playoff eligibility waiver deadline. Any player that can sign with another team before that can be on the playoff roster. So if they're going to make any more moves, any teams to try to bolster their team for the playoffs, they got by Friday, today to do it. So, I mean, this is it.
Mac, do the Nets have anything else up their sleeve? Is any veteran player the Nets all of a sudden going to swoop in and get it the last month? This is what I don't like about some players, okay? They play years for one franchise, and then they want to go somewhere else just to get a ring for that year. To me, it's like having a cheap affair. Listen, one of the players who wasn't a favorite of mine, okay, Reggie Miller, wasn't a favorite of mine. I admired his shooting. I admired his game, but his antics, his level of maturity didn't always go well with me. But he did something that had always impressed me mightily. When he was with the Indiana Pacers, they offered to trade him in season to the Miami Heat while the Miami Heat had a championship caliber team and eventually won the championship. He didn't want to go and just get a cheap type ring, go in season as a veteran player, as a backup. And, he wanted to get it with the Pacers, do it the right way. The team he was with for his career. He never got it with the Pacer, but I'll always remember him as a career Pacer. And that meant a lot more than it would have meant if you getting one with the Miami Heat. We also had Karl Malone and Gary Payton. They went to the Lakers when the Lakers had Kobe Bryant. They tried to get a ring after Payton had been with Seattle his whole career. Malone had been with the Jazz, and it didn't work out. They joined Kobe and Shaq. But the ring would have been diminished, in my view, had they gotten it. It wouldn't have been a big deal. But somehow players like to look at their hand, Mac, and see a ring on their hand.
Yeah, I mean, all great points, Jack. Charles Barkley calls the Clippers pretenders, and he believes that the Jazz, the Lakers, or the Nuggets are better than them. And to me, that's just saying anything to get in the papers, Jack, really. I mean, come on.
I don't, Charles, listen, part of his job is to keep his name out there, make some controversial things, say it. I mean, they all do it. Everyone. We do it to a degree. I mean, our level isn't as high as Charles Barkley, as Stephen A. Smith. but we all do it to a certain extent. But are we telling the truth? That's the main thing. And is Charles Barkley necessarily saying something that's not true? It's a matter of opinion. It's a valid opinion to say that the Jazz or the Nuggets, and even the Lakers, when they're healthy, are better than the Clippers. It's a valid opinion to give. You don't have to agree with it. You want to know something? Barkley's either going to be proven right and wrong come playoff time.
Yeah, I think sometimes that to say that the Clippers are pretenders is a little extreme, Jack. I mean, if you could say the Clippers aren't as good as these other teams, then I might agree with them. But
the pressure's on Paul George, Mac. Paul George has not won anything anywhere. Okay, he played with the Pacers, then he went to OKC. They teamed him up with Russell Westbrook. It didn't work out. It never seems to work out with Russell Westbrook as far as taking the next step. And he was upset with Stephen A. the other day for some criticism. But the bottom line is it hasn't worked out. They haven't come close to winning a championship with him, even though they went to the finals one year with OKC. So the pressure's on Paul. Just Kawhi Leonard, he was a finals MVP with San Antonio and with Toronto. His legacy's set. If he never wins again, he's already been there. Yeah. So the pressure's on certain guys. And look out for the Denver Nuggets.
So maybe it wasn't Doc Rivers' fault that the Clippers didn't do well last year. Maybe it's more of a team problem. I mean, as you see, Doc Rivers doing a really good job with the 76ers. He's a good coach, but he took a lot of the blows by the media and by the fans of the Clippers and by the organization for that.
And by me too, Mac. Yeah. What? Come on. This is the Clippers' first year without Doc Rivers. Let's see what the Clippers do. The Clippers haven't failed this year. No one has failed this year amongst the elite teams. The playoffs haven't begun. If the Clippers fall flat on their face this year, then maybe you could turn and say, look, maybe it wasn't all Doc Rivers' fault. Doc Rivers was the head coach. The Clippers were a very talented team with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, when Blake was in his prime, DeAndre Jordan, other really good players, and they never went to the finals under Doc Rivers. And Doc Rivers was there a good amount of years. There's got to be accountability somewhere. If we're going to praise these coaches as being so smart, geniuses, they've got to have some criticism. Look, Doc Rivers seems like a nice guy. If I had to hang out with someone for a day, I think I feel as comfortable with Doc Rivers as anyone else. And for the coaches in the NBA who I don't know, okay? I think I like Doc Rivers a heck of a lot. He seems like a really good, decent human being, and he's a good coach, but he didn't get it done with the Clippers. He just didn't quite get it done.
No, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you. All I'm saying is that maybe the Clippers aren't as good as we think they are as among the elite. We know they're a good team. In fact, they might be a great team, but that doesn't mean that it was Doc Rivers' fault that they didn't make it to the championship, Jack. They may just not be good enough to do that.
And Doc Rivers is getting it done with the Sixers this year, so kudos to him. He's a Coach of the Year candidate so far.
I agree. So take a look at the Major League Baseball real quick. We had the Rockies over Arizona. Chicago beats the Royals. Minnesota trounces Seattle. St. Louis over Milwaukee. The Angels outlast the Blue Jays. Houston over the A's. And the Red Sox, I told you, break up the Red Sox, Jack. They beat Baltimore 7-3.
Wait. The Red Sox have a 4-3 record.
Break them up.
They're 4-3 and break the Red Sox. How about news for you, Mac? They have done that. The organization has broken them up before the year, basically, and they're on a rebuilding mode. That they're 4-3 good after 7 games. Maybe they'll go, 81-81. I don't think they will. I think when all's said and done, you're talking about a 72-90 record for the Red Sox or thereabouts. That's just my opinion. But break them up.
Yeah, again, break them up. Break them up again, Jack. I mean, they're on a tear right now. You have third baseman Rafael Devers, 2 for 3, drives in 2. Eduardo Rodriguez pitches 5 innings, gives up 3 years, but the bullpen of the Red Sox shuts the other team down again, Jack. 2 games in a row, they shut them down. Watch out for them.
You're saying the Yankee-Red Sox rivalry is back.
Yes.
Same way it was when they had Pedro, Schilling, David Ortiz.
Yes.
You think it's all back because of the way the Red Sox are playing.
The way they're beating the mighty powerhouse, the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, they're spanking them. I'm just saying, watch out. So Nathan has a question for us, Jack. He says, when are the A's going to win a game?
Well, they won the game before last. The A's are what? They're 1-6. I'm going to tell you something, Nathan. I'm worried about very few teams this early in the season. I mean, a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who you know are going to be bad. They got off to a bad start, no surprise. But keep this in mind, the A's have gotten off to slow starts in past years. They're, 1-6? There's something, I think, like 4.5 games out of first place or thereabouts. It's kind of early on. They got swept by the Astros to start the year, rocky start. There's plenty of time to stabilize. When the team starts falling 9-10 games behind, you really start to worry at that point. I mean, are we going to worry about the Miami Marlins, who I think are 1-6 right now, who lost in a sickening fashion to the Mets yesterday? I don't know you're going to get around to that, Mac.
Yes.
But, no, I mean, listen, hold off with the A's. They always find a way to come back and win and get back into contention.
So, as you were saying, the Mets, was he hit by the pitch, Jack? I mean, this is something that
Michael Conforto, yeah,
they don't use. Well, maybe they do use instant replay for it, but it's so hard to see whether a ball scrapes a batter or not. And I don't like that anyway. If it hits his jersey, you know, when he's moving outside, it doesn't hit him; it hits his jersey. I don't think you should get a walk out of that. I don't. It's a ball. I mean, to me, a batter's got to be hit. Not his jersey, not scrapes his padding, none of that stuff. I mean, if he gets hit, he gets hit. I mean, let's make a new rule, Jack.
Mac, I got to give compliments out today, Mac. I mean, I'm a homer to an extent, not as big as you are, you know, like with the home team, the loyalty. But I got to give kudos out, Mac. The Gary Thorne, Ron Darling, and Keith Hernandez working the Met game. Even, for those who don't know, Michael Conforto leaned over and allowed himself to get hit with a pitch. But the pitch was a strike. But it forced in the winning run, okay? Pitch was a strike, and Gary Thorne, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, they were livid about the Mets, their team winning the game like that, because they could see the unfairness. And the replay rule is so bad, it's got to get changed on that call, Mac. The only thing the umpires were allowed to review was whether the pitch hit Conforto. They weren't allowed to review whether it was a strike or not. And the pitch was over the plate. It should have been called a strike.
But if you get hit while the pitch is over the plate, does that make it a strike?
And the rule is the batter has to make an effort to get out of the way. Conforto made an effort to get hit with the pitch. Listen, this wasn't as flagrant, let's say, as the 1978 World Series. Remember Reggie on the base path stuck out his hip? I mean, that was a great call. I mean, I give credit to Reggie for that. And that was so obvious. Everyone in the stadium saw that, how the ump could miss that. There are calls that are missed. Listen, the 69 World Series, the Mets won Game 4 when J.C. Martin was running inside the base path to first base and got hit with the throw to first, and the ball went to the outfield. He should have been called out. And the Mets may have lost Game 4. And who knows, maybe the miracle Mets don't turn out to quite be a full miracle Mets, that the Orioles win the World Series. There's always a possibility that would have happened, even though I don't think it would have. But yesterday, I mean, the Mets kind of stole one. And you know what bothers me, Max, sometimes about umpire calls? And I'm I don't mean to be critical of the umpires, but if we could all see it happening live as it unfolds, and the umpires miss it, and then they're going to replays and they can't overturn it, something is a matter. I condone umpires missing a call when we have to look at the replay 4 or 5 times. They don't have that novelty. We keep studying it from different angles. If we have to study it from different angles, how can we be critical of umpires and officials? I mean, we can't. But when it's obvious to us, even the moment it happens, it's a bad call, and then they can't get it right afterwards, reviewing it, then there's something terribly wrong.
Yeah, get rid of the replay. I've been saying that for years, Jack. In the NHL, Jack, scores: the Hurricanes 3, Panthers 0, the Jets 4, Montreal 2. Tampa Bay beats the Blue Jackets 6-4. The Oilers 3, the Senators 1, the Predators 7, Detroit 1, Stars 5, Chicago 1. Boston beats the Capitals 2-0. Goals by Marchand and Smith. Now, I don't know if you saw the Marchand goal or not. They were shorthanded. He pulled the puck back. The guy fell guarding him. He came to the goal and backhanded it in. It was an unbelievable score. Some of the best skating I've seen with the puck, shorthanded, going in there and getting the goal anyway. I don't know if you saw the video of it, Jack.
No, I didn't. I didn't see that. I was watching actually some hockey yesterday, Mac. I was watching, this was glutton for punishment, the end of the Devil-Buffalo Sabre game. Yeah, somehow it didn't seem the intensity. I mean, they played hard, don't get me wrong, but you could tell the difference between A hockey and B hockey, and somehow it didn't seem to be as intense as when I turned to the Island of Flyer game. And I'm going to tell you, Brock got the first goal for the Islanders, but the shootout gets me. It goes into overtime, and the Flyers played well. I mean, it was a type of game that the Flyers were hard luck losers. But then it goes to the shootouts. And when they first started the shootouts, the skaters seemed to have an advantage years ago. For some reason, it's so hard to score in shootouts now. And the Islanders, the Islanders score one. They score once on 5 tries. The Flyers don't score at all on 5 tries. So think of that. 9 out of 10, the skater coming in all alone on the goalie can't score. And the art of lifting the puck isn't what it used to be. It just, for some reason, the goalie's down and these stick handler just can't lift the puck up enough. And, he can't make a first move to get the goalie out of position. And it's inside the skaters' heads. You see them coming from different angles. They used to come straight ahead at the goalie and zigzag a little. Now they're all the way off on the side and they're trying crazy angles.
Yeah.
It's so hard, now to score in shootouts. And that's kind of amazing to me.
Have you looked at the pass, Jack, and checked the goal? Maybe there's more padding now than there ever was. Maybe the pads are so big and everything that they cut down a lot of the area for to shoot into the goal. I don't know. I haven't looked at it, but you're right. I remember when shootouts, they used to score a lot more. They don't as much as they used to. So maybe it is the padding. I don't know, Jack. I got to check that out. So as you said, let me get to it. The Flyers lost in a tough game. The Islanders, Eberle and Elson scored. The Flyers, Kubel and Voracek with a goal each. The Devils did the Devils did beat Buffalo, which is not a big deal anymore, really. Zajac with 2. I should say with 2. 4 others had a goal apiece for Buffalo. Olofsson and Skinner and Thompson with a goal each.
Your Devils, by trading Palmieri to the Islanders, they basically, I don't want to say have thrown the towel in on the season. They know they're not making the playoffs, so they're looking ahead to next year already.
Oh, I agree with that too, Jack. I definitely agree with that. I mean, why not? I mean, there's really nothing going on this year, so I don't blame him for looking to next year and maybe getting something going there. So, Jack, every day I try to get you with this, and this is a very interesting trivia question. I'm going to let you know really right up front because I had no clue.
Okay, got me with the tennis one with the underhand one with Michael Chang. I was thinking Jim Courier, who'd won a couple of French Opens. So
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
a golf one, right, Mac?
this is even worse than that one, Jack. I mean, this one I had no clue. It's kind of a funny trivia question, and it really has nothing to do with the sport itself, except it was done by the owner of the 76ers in the draft. And who did the 76ers pick in the final pick in the 1983 draft, Jack? And you'll be surprised to hear the answer to this.
The final draft pick, which is always meaningless,
Right.
completely meaningless. Well, they had won the championship. Wow, was it 83 that they won the championship with Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Mo Cheeks? I'm going to just take it's not the answer. Caldwell Jones.
Believe it or not, Jack, and this is crazy, they selected a 49-year-old pharmacist named Norman Horowitz with the last pick of the draft. Isn't that crazy?
Well, but why did they do that? That's obviously a joke pick.
Right.
But the last picks are so meaningless. It's not like the NFL where you could maybe get some value. Why would they do that?
Because allegedly Horowitz was a poker buddy of the 76ers.
Harold Castriona?
Yeah, so supposedly that's why they did that. I guess, like you said, it was a joke. And it just, I mean, that's just unbelievable that a team would even do that. I mean, I know it's the last pick, but who knows who you could get? I mean, that's just crazy. So I kind of laughed at it, and I said, I gotta ask Jack that question.
Caldwell Jones was a good player, so I just threw a desperate answer out there. You know, I knew I had virtually no chance, but it's like buying a lottery ticket. If you don't buy it, you can't possibly win it, but you buy it, you know you're not going to win it anyway, but there's always the minuscule chance you get lucky in some technicality. But they drafted a 49-year-old pharmacist. Did he go to training camp?
I wanted to know if he ever made the team and maybe they let him take a shot once, you know, like a pity shot. But I that's all I got from that. So backstage right now, we got our NFL analyst, a good friend of the show, Byron Williams. He comes on every Friday with us, and we love having him. A former player in the NFL.
I got a beef with Byron. I didn't tell you, Mac, that I got to discuss with him.
Okay, great. So we'll bring him on and let's see what you got to say to the big Byron. How we doing today, Byron?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. I don't want to start in with my beef with Byron until you give me the okay, Mac, because I tend to cut you off a lot.
I know you do, Jack. So before we get to Jack's beef with you, Byron, I'm interested to see what that will be. Let's talk a little NFL. Of course, the big New York news is Sam Darnold getting traded to the Carolina Panthers for a few draft picks. So that tells me two things, Byron, and I think you'd agree with this. One, the Jets are going to pick a quarterback. There's no doubt about it now. There's no secret they're going after a quarterback in the draft. And secondly, the Carolina Panthers, even after paying Teddy all that money, don't have a lot of faith in him this year.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Teddy, you know, he just the timing, the injuries, and the combination of all that kind of hurt his career. But, you know, like I always have said, you're only good as your last play in the NFL. So, you know, what have you done for me lately? And so that's the way the game is. It's a revolving door for one thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
How does it work out, Byron, with them having to take certain cuts? Because teams would want Teddy Bridgewater if he would take a cut in his contract. I mean, how does that – let's say he doesn't. I guess he's not going to get paid the whole amount, that it's not guaranteed. So for him to make X amount, he just about has to take a cut. It's going to have no choice in reality. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's going to have to take a cut because the only thing that he had was the guaranteed money leaving, you know, New Orleans and going to the Panthers. But now, you know, his next contract, he definitely going to take a huge pay cut. He's not the marquee player that he once was, and of course, you know, with the trade and all, you know, he gonna have to, you know, they definitely gonna, you know, he gonna lose out on money for sure, and so that's things that players have to be faced with. I mean, when you hit that 30-year mark, it's one of those things. You ain't going to the Pro Bowl and putting up huge numbers. You just the game gonna limit your capability of what you can do. It's all about productivity, and it's all about you know, whatever you, like I said, whatever you done for me lately.
Would you think of some landing spots for Teddy Bridgewater? They liked him at Minnesota. He got injured. That was the problem. I could see him going back there, going to Denver, even New England, conceivably.
Yeah. I think Denver might be a good spot for him. Yeah, maybe New England, but right now, you know, I just think he done had a rough career. You know, those injuries bugs and got a hold to him a little bit too as well. But you know, the NFL, man, they are constantly looking to change the dynamic of the field and the makeup of the team. So, but yeah, he definitely gonna probably be gone from the Panthers. I don't think he wanted to be a backup. He wanted to be somewhere where he can come in and play.
I agree with that. Do you think, speaking of people moving up in the draft, and looks like they're going for a QB, the 49ers move up in the draft pick, and it looks like they want to get a quarterback, but you got Garoppolo there, who when he's not injured is a good quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback, but he definitely can bring you to the Super Bowl, as we've seen. A good team, and it looks like there might be a little bit of a I don't want to say controversy, but a little bit difference of opinion between the GM and the head coach. So, to me, Byron, I don't think the quarterback class is that strong. I really don't. I think there's some good quarterbacks. Besides Trevor Lawrence, I don't see anybody that's great out there right now that has a potential to be something right now. Anyway. So what do the 49ers do? I mean, do they go for that quarterback, whoever's there, or do they look somewhere else?
The way it looks, they looking at Mac Jones real hard, and I think they see the potential. They see a future in him, and of course they looking at what he's bringing to the table. I think he got a lot of upsides, and he showed them some things too. I think in the combines in some of these workouts. So you know, those are the intangible things I think people tend to forget. Something that Mac Jones is doing, but it's gonna probably be between Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Lance, that quarterback from North Dakota State, whatever. But I just think that, you know, the history with Alabama quarterbacks have been that good. That's another thing that you have to think about. Of course, you know, Fields and Trevor Lawrence, you know, they without a doubt, they are absolutely players that you want to build your team around, and you want to bring in. And, you know, you want to add longevity to. These guys could be a Hall of Fame quarterbacks and put up the big numbers. So those are the things I think these teams are considering. But I think right now, Mac Jones might be getting the edge with the 49ers because I heard Shanahan talking about him last week. And I think they like what he's doing and what they're showing him doing these workouts.
You know, I think Justin Fields is getting a bit of a bad rap. I mean, I hate to hear things, well, he might be lazy, this and that. I saw him, I mean, what a competitor against Clemson, getting banged up, getting his ribs being hurt, hanging in there, playing hard, and playing a great game against Clemson, a great game. And then he had some difficulties against Alabama, but Alabama has an outstanding defense, okay? And he was playing hurt against Alabama. So I don't want to hear stuff like work ethic, this and that. No one talked about him not having a good work ethic until the draft is coming along, and it seems to be kind of nitpicking. To me, Justin Fields has more upside than Mac Jones. Mac Jones might be more impressive in the interview process. They look at his transcript, he might have a 4.0 index, you know, and stuff like that. And not that Mac Jones isn't going to be a good quarterback, but not that long ago, I was hearing Mac Jones wasn't even a top 15 guy. It would be too much of a reach to pick him in the top 10. So what makes Mac Jones now a top 3 guy? Because he's impressive during an interview? I mean, give me Justin Fields amongst the two. That's me if I were picking.
Well, I think like I said, the hidden factor is the combine, the workouts, them going down, interviewing him, some of the things that he's replying to when they ask these questions. So Mac Jones' rating have increased. So it's something that he have shown since the end of the season. And I think that those are the things that these teams are looking for, the intangible things and the things that these guys can do away and off the football field and what they bring to the table. They look at everything, your track record, your history, your family history, your teachers, everything that ties into who you are. These guys are now are looking into. I mean, so they investigate these guys. So I'm telling you, since football season have ended, Mac Jones' stock have really increased because of some of the things he's doing that we not seeing behind the scenes. So I think that those are the things I think the 49ers are looking at, and they really considering picking them their third choice.
So what do they do with Garoppolo then, Byron? I mean, do they leave him there for a year and let Jones come or whoever they pick behind him the following year? Or do they just pack him up and move him to Beverly? I mean, what do they do with this guy?
Well, Shanahan said the other day that he's very competitive and he's going to take it into account that they might have to compete. And the best quarterback will win out. So, right now these teams are looking at having two good quarterbacks just in case injury bugs hit the teams. But right now, they considering that they're gonna have to battle for the starting position. But I think Jimmy might win out because of his experience and him being more mature. And
let me tell you, these teams outsmart themselves. People don't realize the year of the great quarterback draft with Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger. The San Diego Chargers draft Phillip Rivers, but you know who their quarterback was? Drew Brees. So why the heck did they have to draft a quarterback? And had Brees not gotten injured the last game of the season, what a problem the Chargers would have had. Because once you draft a guy that high, you have to move forward with him no matter what. That's the thing, You just can't shuttle him off somewhere, keep him on the bench.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right because if you draft a quarterback in the top 15 picks, that quarterback, they're looking for that quarterback to come in and play. Yeah.
Listen. I don't agree with that 100%. I mean, there's other quarterbacks that were drafted that did stay behind and hold the clipboard for a year, and I can give you a list of those that turned out to be great. Right. I think they rush the quarterbacks a lot too much, way too much now, and they shouldn't be rushing them into certain situations. Unless somebody gets injured, there's nothing you can do about it. But to rush people in, to me, is crazy. I mean, even the Chiefs, with Mahomes, let him sit behind, Smith for the whole year almost before they started him. Let him learn a little something. Let him get up used to the NFL. Why would you want to put that kid in that position? I think they rush him a lot too much.
Justin Herbert. Anthony Lynn, the coach of the Chargers, is planning on sitting him the whole season behind Tyrod Taylor. What good would that have done? Now look at the way Justin Herbert played. You got his career off to a great start. He's a great quarterback. Aaron Rodgers and Nathan Seymour says, well, he sat for 3 years, but that was Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers was drafted late in the first round. So they didn't quite invest that much in him. But 3 years was too much for Aaron Rodgers. It made no sense. It wasted time in his career.
I don't necessarily agree with that either, Jack. I think if you got Brett Favre as the starting quarterback, why would you bring in Aaron Rodgers unless you're going to get rid of Brett?
What's better, Byron? We debated this with Mac. Mac says Brett Favre, say Aaron Rodgers. Who would you take? You'd take either one, I'm sure.
I would think about going in the room and getting Brett Favre's autograph the ball. He signed for me. So right now, Brett Favre.
Trevor Lawrence, his left shoulder was injured. He's throwing again, which is great for him and great for the Jaguars. Daniel Jones, Odell Beckham, Zeke Elliott. A lot of people are saying this is a make or break year for all three. Do you agree with that, Byron?
Somewhat. I agree. I mean, you have to. the timing is everything in football, and I think yeah, it's put up and shut up. You know, you only have and you know, fans and expectations and things like that is part of the equation when you're playing on that level. So yeah, you have to come in and show, and you're getting paid for it now. So yeah, I think it's time.
Do you believe that maybe there's other things to be considered? I mean, you look at Zeke Elliott, he got hurt. His offensive line was hurt. I mean, he still tried to run hard as he could. He can't go through the holes himself. I mean, he can't go through defensive linemen himself. I mean, to me, there are some considerations to take into account. I mean, Daniel Jones, yeah, this should be his year. Again, different offensive coordinator, offensive line stunk. And even Odell is a different story to me. I think that Odell, he brings a lot of the problems on himself as far as his off field and stuff like that. He tries to be more bigger than the team, even though he tried to maybe be a better teammate. I don't know if he can do that. I think Odell's Odell.
He's buddies with Jarvis Landry. So
Yeah.
I was a little surprised he would even defer to anyone, even a close friend, you know, at the other wide receiver, the Browns.
Yeah.
So I mean, Byron, when you came in the league, right? Did they have a timetable for you? Did they say, "Hey, listen, by the end of the year, you better be out there," or was the expectation? Not tell you, but the expectation by the end of the year, you're going to be out there starting. Was there any like a something said to you, or that they showed you that this is what it was, or we don't need you? Was that ever like an ultimatum? Maybe not in words, but to you.
Yeah, I think players can have some instincts and insights, and they give you indication that, you know, this is what your expectations are. This is what we expect of you, and based off the money that they're paying you. So I think you kind of know whether or not, you know, either you better get ready to tighten the belt up, or they're gonna be ready to replace you or trade you or something like that. So you get a feel of the chemistry. You know, like for example, this offseason, are you putting the time in to go and work with the quarterback, work with the starting quarterback? We'll get the timing down, doing the little things. So now you see players going to the quarterback, spending 2 or 3 weeks with him or whatever, and they reporting that to the offensive coordinator, or they reporting that to the receiver coach, defensive back coach, because the chemistry is so important, and what they expect for you to bring back to the club is so important. So I think the off-season part is football now is year-round. I don't think it's too much time off that you can spend away from doing what you're supposed to be doing. So with the guaranteed money and your contract and all that, so you kind of got a sense of where you are and what you can bring to the table. So like Zeke Elliott and those guys, you know, he had an off year last year. He got to have a great year this year. So I think too that, you know, those things are got to be on the back of these players' mind. Also, the age 27, 28, when you hit that age right there, you're at the breaking point. You're at the peak, but you're at the breaking point to where your performance can either drop off, or either teams get disinterested in you. So there's so many other things too that's factored into the equation, I think.
You know, one of the biggest moves in the NFL this year, you just mentioned chemistry, is Sammy Watkins going to the Ravens. Does this give Lamar Jackson an opportunity to be an elite passer? He's an elite player, and he's not a bad passer, but is this going to take Lamar Jackson to a really higher level? When we talk about now the best quarterbacks in the league, is this going to mean Lamar Jackson might join the discussion? I know he was an MVP, but no one was saying he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Might they be saying it about him now? Will Sammy Watkins take him there?
Yeah, I think Sammy Watkins, not only that, Sammy Watkins, he's a dedicated receiver, and he's going to bring that experience, and he's going to have expectations towards other teammates on the football field, and I think that's what they need. They need a leader to come in to help add value to the team on the offensive concept, and I think Sammy Watkins is going to do that. The only thing that Sammy Watkins needs to do is stay healthy. You know, those injury bugs been getting him. But when he's a part of the offense, he's been at the top performers. He have so much to offer, and he's bringing in a leader. Where you opposed to Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant he's all about self. he's not a team concept type of player. So Samuel Watkins is the kind of player that's going to bring more value to the club and to the team. And I think that will add more to Lamar Jackson, to the whole offense and the scheme of things that they want to do on the offensive side of things. And they could probably put up 35 points a game.
Hey, Byron, Nathan Seymour is from the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, the biggest fan group for the Giants in the country. I mean, they got over 20-something thousand members there. And I mean, I've looked at this group and they go back and forth, and some opinions are crazy and some opinions are right on. But he has a question for you. Do you think this is a make or break year for Daniel Jones?
I think it's just according to how healthy his offensive line be, and of course Barkley and the running back, and how productive they can be. Like I said, the good thing I love about the Giants, they play physical football, and they was in almost every game last year. So I think Daniel Jones, this is the year, I think, going into his fourth year, I think this is the year I think he probably gonna get a lot of things right. He's gonna be more mature minded, and he'll be able to focus on getting the ball in and out of his hand. I would study like Brady, Tom Brady and those type of quarterback, Drew Brees. It's all about the timing and the angles that you take on your drops and things like that. And plus knowing the strength of your offensive lineman, I think too. So I think this might be a Pelican year, a year that he can, that he can pinpoint to break out of that cycle of, is Daniel Jones the guy that we need to look forward to for us carrying us to the Super Bowl run.
Yeah, but people don't.
I do think Daniel Jones. Last year, I think he's more mature minded now. I think going into this year, I think you'll see a different Daniel Jones.
Quarterbacks are so hard to replace to have a franchise quarterback. If Daniel Jones is so, what's out there for the Giants? Let's say they're drafting number 15 next year, for argument's sake. I mean, just getting the type of quarterback you want is like so difficult.
It is. And but also throughout the league, they got a lot of good quarterbacks, second, third string quarterbacks out here now that you can pick from too. And like Colt McCoy came in and things like that. So it's enough quarterbacks, I think, on the market that you can bring in as a good backup for Daniel Jones.
Speaking of 49ers, Nate Sudfeld, if for those listening who don't remember who he is, he quarterbacked the Eagles in the last game that people thought they tanked and deliberately lost, but Nate Sudfeld was trying his best. The 49ers just picked him up. I don't see where that's headed exactly. Obviously, it's a backup, but I just don't see it.
It's one of those catch-22.
Let me get back to Daniel Jones for a minute. Listen, I think that Daniel Jones, if he don't get them at least close enough to getting a wild card berth this year, I think he should be gone. I mean, right now, and let me tell you something. I like Daniel Jones a lot. I think he's a great kid. He's a tough player. He's not scared to take a hit. He hangs in there. I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he throws a pretty good ball. But you don't have to be a great quarterback to lead a team to the Super Bowls, as Foles has showed us, as other quarterbacks have showed us. You just can't make big mistakes. You can't make mistakes at key times during the game, like James Winston does and Daniel Jones does sometimes. You can't do that and cause your team to lose. You can't be the reason why they lose. And if Daniel Jones doesn't get it together this year, Byron, and doesn't have them in a playoff push, I think he's all done. I really do.
But once again, Byron, Mack is showing his bias. Sam Darnold quarterbacked the Jets for 3 years, and Mack was saying the Jets should have held on to Sam Darnold and let him start next year. Now, Daniel Jones is entering his third year. So at the end of his third year, he would have the same amount of time as Sam Darnold, but Mack is giving an ultimatum to Daniel Jones. Either you get it done or you're out.
I think, the third and fourth years is those years that you have to consider that, though, for real. So either you got it or you don't have it. So
I agree. I listen. I think the Giants.
I was gonna say it might be some truth to what Mac is saying, for real. I think you have.
I mean, the Giants. I think the Giants have a lot better team all around than the Jets easily. The Jets don't have weapons. They don't have an offensive line. They don't have a defense. I can go on and on about the Jets. The Jets are just a terrible team. The Giants are not a terrible team. They're a solid team on defense and growing on offense. And I think this is the year Daniel Jones has got to shine.
Well, you know who we're all giving a pass to? We always look at the quarterback, Saquon Barkley. He's the one that's under the microscope, even maybe more than Daniel Jones. If he can't have a big year this year, like if he can't get back to the form he had in his rookie year, I mean, I don't see the Giants moving forward with him. And he's a big part of the offense. So I think Saquon Barkley's under the microscope just as much as Daniel Jones.
I think Barkley's going to be all right. And because the reason why I said it, because having these knee surgeries and coming off of knee injuries, players come back even stronger. You know, Adrian Peterson showed that even at his old age. And I think he'll be all right. I think Barkley's going to be good. I think he's going to be back to his old self. I
hope you're right, Byron, because I'll tell you, and I'm with Jack on this. If he gets hurt again this year, there's a problem there. I mean, I'm sorry, there's a problem there. And I mean, I think Saquon Barkley is one of the most electrifying running backs in the league when he's healthy. He reminds me a lot of Barry Sanders. But if he can't stay healthy, man, I mean, you got a contract you got to discuss with this man, and we'll see what happens with that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing: if he learned what happened last year, you just got to stay focused on play by play, not try to do the extra stuff. That's how you got hurt last year. Trying to throw the guy off, going out of bounds. Just go ahead and just look at the next play.
I don't know. I think that's what makes him electrifying, Byron, that trying to throw the guy off and run an extra 10, 20 yards. I don't know if he can change his style. We'll see what happens. I mean, I hope he's healthy and raring to go this year. A little bad news we have. Philip Adams kills 5 people, a doctor, wife, grandchildren, then kills himself. That's the second NFL player within about 2 weeks that has done this. His father's blaming the NFL for it. I mean, is it Byron? Is it that you end up getting either leaving the NFL? I know everybody eventually, some aren't as good as others, end up getting cut, and their whole life they've been told how great they were since they were a high school all-star to a college all-star, and then they get in the NFL and maybe they're not an all-star anymore. Do you think this is something that comes from a long time ago? And that they're always told how great they are, and then they come under this pressure and find out maybe they're not that great. Do you think they feel? I mean, do you think it's a psychological thing where maybe they come to a realization that they're not as great as they thought they were, or something else there?
Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is built up, and what we have to do as former players and current players is we got to keep implementing programs. And what I hate about some of the NFL players, they would go and start isolating themselves. They start hating the game. Because one of the things that at the end of your career is you getting cut. And also, so we're not used to failure, right? We always want to be patted on, gratified, and saluted. So what happened is now all of a sudden they done shut the door on you. And now you're saying the world is against you. Your friends drop off. Your name ain't in the highlights no more. So now we got to find a way to combat these problems. And a lot of it's mental problems. I mean, I talked to Charles Haley, and he was talking about some of the mental problems that he had from early on, high school, college, and then the pros. And so what we have to do is help players address their needs and concerns. And we got all these different programs and to help these players. But what we have to do is when there is alertness that these things are targeting these players, these demons, we got to get them in the right place so they can get help, the proper help. And that's one of the things that we trying to implement with all these different retired players chapters across the country. And we have to find out what players are being depressed, that's got these anxiety problems, got these demons, concussions. All these things need to be addressed but the main thing that's in the news is the current players and what they're doing, how much money they're making. But we got another side over here that's having these problems where we got to address, divorces and wives beating and things like that we face. Guys thinking about suicidal, committing suicide. We have to find out, and we got to do a better job of combating these problems and trying to help our players. Because if you find out a player is in depression and how these things is going on with them, we can put them and help them in these different services that we have. We have plenty of services out here now, but it's a shame that this happens almost every year. We got to do a better job.
Well, Nathan brings up a point that I was going to talk to you about a little bit. I think, Byron, not only we got to do that, but we got to start holding people responsible for their own actions. It's too late to hold this guy responsible for his own actions because it's all done. But when they start messing up, when they start doing things that aren't right, I think they have to be held accountable. They can't blame football all the time. They can't blame their situation. They can't, because something happened maybe in their family with their upbringing. Maybe they came from a single family. Maybe they didn't have to learn anything in college because they were going to the pros. But I think that if you're gonna institute these programs for these players, and I've never been to one of those programs, but because I don't know. But I would imagine that you talk to them about personal accountability, what they're doing with their lives, and how it's not everybody else's fault. You got to start looking inside too. I would imagine, correct?
Yeah, correct. No doubt. No doubt. And I being the president of the chapter here down here, I have a lot of concerns on players. But what I try to tell them, just let me know. I mean, I helped a player. I had to talk a player out of taking a gun and almost trying to commit suicide 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And, we have to find those small huddles that we can trust each other and then lay out some of the things that we're dealing with and we're faced with. Because coming out of this pandemic, people are coming out of here and they are, they are loosey-goosey, and it's sad. And so we have to do a better job.
Okay, great. So, Byron, how's the Wishes Foundation going? Give us a little update on that.
It's funny you said that. I took a whole lot of masks, toys, eye shield, hand sanitizer yesterday to 2 of the schools here in Arlington, and then we're doing a school over in Dallas today. So we tapping into our resources that we continue to bless these kids and the underprivileged, underserved communities. And yesterday I got confirmation from the principals and the counselors of us coming back and thinking of them. So it's going good, and I'm glad I'm able to continue to do that.
That's excellent, Byron. And
I
guys,
got beef with Byron. I gotta say
yes,
it.
I'm gonna let you get to him right after I make this announcement. You go get him, Jim.
Okay.
Folks, that's the Best Wishes Foundation. And it's not a government-run organization where the government takes a piece out of it or there's red tape. You go right to Byron Williams. Go to his Facebook page or website. Check it out. Feel free to kick him $20, whatever you can afford, because Byron's in the community helping out kids that really need help, not the kids that are kind of from parents and families that kind of trying to get a free ride. He actually goes in there and he helps these kids out, mentors them, and talks to them, has camps for them. I mean, he does a lot. So please go to Best Wishes Foundation and check out Byron's site. Go ahead, Jack. Go get him now.
Now, Byron's saying it's all about team. Now, his grandson is the best center, the best long snapper on the team. And he's saying parents and grandparents have to know their place, not interfere. He's seeing the coach and demanding his grandson be a wide receiver. But if he's helping the team win at center, Byron, I mean, what is the matter with that? You could, as a proud grandparent, see your grandson snap the ball during the games. You can still watch the games and take pride in how, he's blocking and snapping the ball. So
well,
what's
what I
the
did,
there?
I had him over to my house last week, right? And we had a pawpaw grandson conversation. So I took him out there and told him that I'm proud of him. But hey, you got to score a touchdown if you want to come over to Pawpaw house. Because Pawpaw gonna give you $20 for every touchdown that you make. and you can't make touchdown being a center. So I said, hey, it's all right. Every night it's all right to go and snap the ball. But let me tell you something. People love touchdowns. And that's what we're getting paid for. If you're a part of my team, you're going to score touchdowns. So that's what I told my grandson last week.
I think he should get the biggest bonus if he's centered as a fumble and he's on the bottom of the pile and he comes up with the ball. To me, that would be better than scoring a touchdown. Getting the ball in the pile.
To me and Mac, that's Rusby.
Yes, it is.
Hey,
one last thing, Byron. I and caution you on this. Long snappers last a lot longer than wide receivers in the NFL. Just something to think about.
You're absolutely right, because the guy just retired from Dallas, spent 16 years snapping the ball. He only snapped the ball.
Well, maybe you should start.
I'm gonna
maybe you should start. Maybe you should start working with it.
Of the country, you guys from the east side of the country is making me think. Now I might start thinking about that.
Long snappers, yeah. Long snappers are hard to find. Listen, look what happened in the playoff game with the Steelers, the first play of the game. This year. I mean, Pouncey, their great center, snaps the ball over Roethlisberger's head. And Cleveland gets a touchdown immediately, and that set the tempo for the whole game. Look at the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning, the Broncos are playing Seattle. The ball is snapped right over his head in the beginning. I mean, that could turn a game, yeah.
Well, not only
they can turn the game around. You absolutely
right.
And
not only that, Byron. Mr. Diassi, who was a backup linebacker, he played snapper for the Giants for how many years? And he got a nice steady paycheck. So you might want to work with that kid on long snapping. You might want to, coach him as a receiver, but work on him on the side with that long snapping thing. He might have a job in the NFL. So.
And last week I posted them. They played baseball last week, both of my grandsons. So I'm trying to push them over there on that side too. So
there you go.
Byron would tell him you can't be a middle relief pitcher. You got to either start or close the game.
That's it.
Hey, Jack, I did tell my oldest grandson that he can't be no relief quarterback.
Oh, that's good. That's the thing of the future, though. He's missing. That is the thing of the future, coming off the bench.
Hey, Byron. You're always fun to have on. Love to have your knowledge as an ex-player on our show, and I thank you. And hopefully we'll see you again next week. Keep up the great work, Byron.
I'll be in Vegas next week, but we'll see what happened out there. I'll be out there spending time with my dog.
Yeah.
Okay, great. If you can make it good, if you can't, just let me know. Okay, my friend.
All right. You guys have a great week. Okay.
You too, Byron. Have a good weekend. So there you go, Jack. Byron Williams.
I'm impressed, Mac. You joined me in teaming up against him, backing up the long snappers.
Yeah,
you made a good point. The kid's more likely to make the NFL as a long snapper. Long snappers are hard to find, harder to find. Good long snappers are harder to find than good receivers.
And they keep their job forever, Jack. So it's good longevity. So. I heard you saying that, and I said, I got to back up my co-host for a change here. Yeah. So we'll be right back after this, folks. We'll have Keith Engel from TGI Sports Talk on with another great guest. So please stick around. We'll be right back.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay,
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
You talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's gonna be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he gonna know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're live Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch, the legendary boxing writer and historian on all sports, folks. He's got a bunch of information all loaded into that great brain of his, where he shares with us every day he's on the show. Happy to have him on as my co-host. And backstage right now.
I'm not done with Byron, by the way, Mac. I'm not done with Byron. I mean,
not done with Byron.
I have another complaint. Should he tell his grandson to demand the ball get thrown to him in the huddles?
In the huddles?
When he's in the huddle with the quarterback, you know, certain receivers demand the ball be thrown to them.
Right.
He doesn't tell his grandson to demand the ball be thrown to him.
Well, you know, times have changed, Jack, because when I was playing football at a really young age, my father actually got in the huddle and yelled at me in front of all the kids and told the coach to kick me in my ass if I didn't start running with the ball better. That's how much has changed since the days when I played football as to today when they're going to tell the coach, what to go ahead and help them to get them the ball or whatever the case may be. So that's how much has changed. Backstage right now, folks, we have one of my favorite guests that come on with us every week. He's Keith Engel. He's from TGI Sports Talk. Does a great job over there. He's one of the best guests we have, knowledgeable in all areas of sports. So let's bring him on. How you doing, Keith?
You embarrassed me. You embarrassed me today. Thank you. Listen, I have a question now. I'm disappointed I come in today and Jackson just a plain old blue shirt. I've seen him all week. He's looking like he's vacationing and living. I thought he was in Hawaii or something. I mean,
I gotta expand the outfit. I have I have most of my clothes in New York, so I kind of have a limited repertoire here. But that shirt, You see, the problem when you wear a shirt like that, people notice it. So if you wear it again, then they're saying, he's wearing the same outfit. You got to kind of diversify. It's like the stock market.
You are a very diversified guy. You know, I got to tell you, Mac, you mentioned about Jack's palatial estate, and I'm beginning to believe it because every show he's in a different room.
I'm trying at different angles. Well, Mac's complaining. I wanted a view of the lake in the background. The birds were tweeting, and that ticked Mac off. Mac's not big into nature. You know, Mac's more like a city-type guy. You know, he likes the enclosed thing. I like more the opening with nature, but Mac isn't into that. Mac's not into background. Mac's a meat and potatoes man. He likes to get right to the point. He's that way in sports, smash mouth football. That's what he likes. You know, he doesn't like the razzle-dazzle, the end of rounds.
Yeah. I mean, that's only used in certain circumstances because to me, football is all about dominating the other team. And that's what I love, that type of football.
Here.
Keith, let's hit the NBA first, right? We got the Knicks, 2 tough losses.
Yeah.
One to the Nets, one to the Celtics. But a loss is still a loss, no matter what. I don't care if you lose by 1 or 20. Some young guys stepping up. Of course, Barrett's having a heck of a season. I mean, whether he plays forward or guard, he's scoring, he's rebounding. But I'm really disappointed in Quickly and Toppin especially. Listen, they got to start contributing, or the Knicks aren't going to have a shot this year.
Yeah, they've. Well, you mentioned they lost their last 2. They lost 5 of the last 6. They've fallen to 8th place in the East, 2 games under 500. Randall's had a bit of a slump recently, shooting the ball anyway. He's only shot about 40% the last, 7 games, I guess. You mentioned Barrett, and I'll back that up. I mean, in his last 20 games, he's averaging almost 20 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, which is great for that position. And he's doing what people think he can't do. The 3-pointers, he's been shooting about 45, 46% from 3-point land in the last 20 games. Great improvement for him. To get to the kid you talked about, Toppin's just never gotten started this year. This is kind of a wasted year for him now with the injury to get started this season. He never got a chance to get his legs under him. I know we've had this conversation that maybe he's a washout. I'm not willing to give up on the kid yet. Do I think he's going to be a major contributor this year? Probably not. But Quickly may have hit the wall. And it may be part of the problem. And Carlos, who I said hello earlier. Hello, Carlos. I'm probably going to be feeding right into his argument right now. And I did say early in the year myself that load management was going to be a problem. There he goes. Randall's tired. He's playing more than 30 minutes a game. I mean, Randall and Barrett have been at the top of the league in minutes played all year long. And Quickly probably, again, when you come from college to the pros, you hit a wall at some point. He played really, really well early in the year. And I think he's hitting that rookie wall that we hear about a lot of times. Maybe and some people bounce back from it. Again, Thibodeau, Thibodeau would never admit it, but this season was never about, really making the playoffs. We've gotten excited and think the Knicks can do some damage. And as fans and watching the team play, we get excited. But this year is really about building something for the future. So he's done a good job still of straddling that line. And again, this is a blip in the road. They've lost some tough games, as you said, Mac. I mean, there's only been a couple of blowouts in these 7 games that they've lost, or 6 games that they lost 5 of. So,
Keith, I would have agreed with you a couple of weeks ago about the future and everything. But if they don't make the playoffs this year, the season's been a disappointment. It really has. And they're the 8th seed right now. They're only a couple of games or so out of the 4th seed, but they're not going to leap up ahead of the teams ahead of them, ahead of Miami, ahead of Boston. I don't think so. Charlotte, I know ball is out. Anything's possible. But they better take a little peek behind them, because Indiana and the Chicago Bulls have some decent personnel. They might catch the Knicks. In other words, the Knicks are not going to back into this playoff position. They better get it together. And if they don't make the playoffs, don't tell me the Knicks fan base is going to say, well, it's a good year. They've developed a couple of players. No, they're going to be unhappy.
And Thibodeau won't either. And, and again, regardless of Carlos's weekly comments to the contrary, Thibodeau is a great coach. He's got a great job this year changing the culture, as we talked about week in and week out. But you're right. Expectations get raised and you can't lower them afterwards, right? You need to make the playoffs. And as bad as they've played here recently, remember, they're still only a game out of fourth place.
Yeah.
So,
but you know something? I don't want to hear about load management and Randall's tired. I mean, players played almost the whole game all the time. If they're not training anymore like they did back then, then they better start training like that. Larry Bird didn't take time off. Magic Johnson didn't take time off. Will Chamberlain played almost every minute of every game. I'm tired of hearing about that load management. People are tired. Go ahead, Keith.
It is a good point. And I use the cliche of load management. I hate the term myself now. And what's funny about that, Mac, is if anything, they probably trained much better today than they trained 30, 40 years ago. You think Larry Bird, does the same kind of training that LeBron James does? I doubt it very much.
Mac and myself were talking about this, was it yesterday? The amount of pulled hamstrings. I mean, you didn't get that in the past. You never heard of a pulled hamstring in baseball and basketball back in the day. But you hear it all the time today. Kevin Durant comes back from a hamstring injury and James Harden goes out with a hamstring injury. It's like an alternating thing. Even I have a hamstring injury and I have a hard time jogging. But I'm older. I didn't get it when I was younger. So that's my excuse. Right, but the young athletes, I mean, with all the science out there, all the athletic trainers, I don't understand it.
I think it's two things. It's a different type of training, right? They don't do the same type of training. And I don't know that they train whatever sport we're talking about, that they do the right kind of training. Baseball players, we talked about a little last week, right? They train the upper body. Well, great. That makes you muscle bound. You hit more home runs, but your base can't sustain the rest of your body. And you get oblique injuries like probably Judge has got again. And the other part of it is these guys played through hamstring injuries and groin injuries and a tweak to this and a rib cage. There wasn't even obliques. It's just a torn, a sore rib cage, I guess. I mean, again, if I want to break it down in really simplistic terms, but guys played through all that stuff. Pitchers pitched with hurt arms all year long. Was it good for them? No, but you know what? They all had pretty long careers, longer than the guys pitched today.
Keith. I believe I watched a special on the Celtics when they lost and they went back and won the championship. Larry Bird started running laps that next day around the Celtic auditorium there, and he did that every day. He said, "I'm never going to run out of gas in the championship again." And they weren't showing him lifting weights. They weren't showing him on a machine. He just started running around the garden there. And I don't know what they're doing now. And I don't know about all this load management. And I don't want to hear they're paying them a lot of money and they got an investment. You bought these guys, brought them into a championship. You didn't bring them in to baby them. And if that's what they're doing, I mean, don't let me be a GM anywhere. Because I'll tell you right now, I would have a bunch of young kids on there. Take everyone you have and go somewhere, go sign somewhere else. I would teach these kids young, hard playing, running, and being winded and be able to go the full game.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think it's very comparable in basketball and baseball and what they're doing in these cases. Stanton had to have a day off. He's on DHs. He has to have a day off after 3 games.
Oh wow!
Please, and football at least is not falling into this. They don't. I mean, again, they only play once a week, I guess you can say, but still, it's a much more physical game than the rest of these games that we're talking about. Guys don't sit out unless they're hurt. I'm sorry, unless they're injured, right? There's a difference between hurt and injured.
I'm glad you brought that up, Keith, because I was thinking of that the other day. That's absolutely amazing. Stanton, the DH, needs a day off every few days. Oh boy.
So again, brings me back with the Knicks. One more thing. They should have signed Westbrook. If they sign Westbrook, they'd probably be in fourth place right now, and that would have been a huge get for the Knicks. Yeah, they would have been in third or fourth place right now, and I guarantee you that. They need a point guard, and Westbrook's one of the best of all time. And
what has Westbrook done for the Wizards?
He's having triple doubles again, Jack.
Yeah. But what are they're not winning, and he's playing with Bradley Beal.
I don't know. I know it would have worked with the Knicks. I know that. I know they would have a better shot right now than they do right.
They may as well then sign Carmelo Anthony when they could have gotten him on the cheap.
Carmelo Anthony's an older player, Jack.
Yeah, if you're a player away from winning, maybe Carmelo helps you, but he doesn't help this team that much. And I've been up and down on the
I was being sarcastic.
All right. I've been up and down on the Westbrook thing myself all year long, right? Early in the year, I wanted to get him, and then I didn't. And because I was worried about the assets they'd have to give up. But,
I don't know, Keith. I think if you're that close, if you got that team that could maybe make it to the second, third round, even if it's for 2 years, just to give them some playoff experience, I think that would have been well worth it. So we talked about the Yanks. Let's get to the Yanks. Judge is home again. No, I'm telling you, if I'm the GM, he ain't getting a contract. If this guy can't play, and if he can't play the year, and he can't dive for balls, and he can't throw as hard as he can, and he can't get up there and hit every day, I don't want him anymore. It's a waste of my time and money. I don't care how good he is. Stanton's another one. I know we can't get rid of Stanton. He'd be sweeping the dugouts on his days off. He would be doing something over there. I'd get the money.
I'd get rid of him, eat half his contract if I have to. Stanton causes a lot of problems, right? You have no maneuverability. You can't take guys and give them a day off in the field and play him at DH because Stanton's got to play there. He can't play anywhere else, which causes more problems. It's one of the reasons that Glaber's got to play shortstop is because we're locked into the DH spot with this $30 million guy who's not worth.
You guys are not businessmen. Stanton is signed through the 2027 season. They're not just going to pay half his salary. That's going to be enormous.
They can afford it.
You're talking about he's making about 26 million a year. And to pay half of that for 7 seasons, just do the math. It's significant. You don't just give that away. But Stanton, when he's healthy, can be a major contributor. Everything about it.
Jack, every player could be great. Everybody could be great if they're healthy, Jack. Every player could be great if they had the right attitude. You're saying something about. Listen, I know Carlos Stanton had a great year. He was unbelievable. He can't stay healthy, and all he does is play DH. I would eat half that contract. You're going to pay him.
Well, you know what it is. I'll agree with this. They shouldn't baby the players. Stanton is a capable left fielder. He's not a liability when he's in the field.
Except that
I would play him in left field some of the time. And you just work out and you hope the guy stays healthy. The same with Judge. A lot of guys just tend to get hurt. Look at Toronto. They signed George Springer to the free agent deal, $25 million a year for 6 years. And the guy is hurt right off the bat. Who knows how long he's going to be out?
I don't care about George Springer, Jack. I don't care about them at all.
It's not a tremendous business move, to eat half the contract, Jack. But this isn't the Minnesota Twins we're talking about. It's the New York Yankees, and they can absorb that kind of loss because they recoup it just by winning World Series. Look at this. This team, I've talked about it for 2 years now. They're so poorly constructed. Sanchez, I watched Sanchez almost get thrown out at second base the other night because he can't run from first to second base.
Yeah.
So frustrating watching this type of stuff night after night. I got guys telling me, give Torres a chance at shortstop. Jeter made a bunch of errors. Jeter never in his life made an error like Torres made the other night that cost him the game. Never. Easy plays.
Gleyber Torres, his miscues aren't because of effort, okay? But Gary Sanchez failing to run balls out. Okay, the other night when he should have had a double, been on second base, he was on first. Yankees were lucky to tie it up that inning. And Tauchman, who pinch ran for him, nearly got thrown out at the plate. Then it would have been a complete fiasco. And that was not the first time it happened, Gary Sanchez. I'd love for Aaron Boone to call him in the office ask for an explanation, and put his rear end on the bench for lack of hustle. Get the point across to him. But you don't want a guy to run it out in a fake type way. Because remember with the Mets, they got mad at Robinson Cano for not running things out. Then Robinson Cano ran out the ball hard and got injured. So you don't want false hustle. If a guy should be on second base, but he's on first base, then I have a problem with it. But I don't want a guy as a token hitting a hard ground ball to second base and doing a Pete Rose, okay? Because then he's risking an injury.
I would have sent Sanchez an even harsher message than the one you just mentioned, Jack, because I would have yanked him out of the game when he almost got caught at second base by not running.
Well, they did. They pinch ran. They put in a pinch runner for him. So I think,
but I think that was more
right, strategic.
And saying, or somewhere along the line, these guys have got to learn that, Boone and the team just kind of rationalizes stuff away. I like Aaron Boone as a manager, but Mac doesn't, but every post-game interview, I mean, he talks about, the effort and this and that and the other thing. Gary Sanchez is, look, there's good things. Yeah, he's got a great arm, but he can't catch the ball. He doesn't hustle. And you hear, it's just the way he plays. We heard the same thing about Robbie Cano forever. Oh, he's so Robbie Cano glides and it doesn't look like he's hustling. Well, Robbie Cano didn't hustle. It's that simple. And I don't care how he glides or what kind of effort he gives. It doesn't apply to the kind of effort he gives. And this is
all I care, Keith. A guy has to be at the base he's supposed to be at. I don't care how he looks otherwise. If a guy should be on second base because he hit a ball off the wall, and he's on first base, I have a problem. I don't care how he looks otherwise. I don't care if he hits a lazy fly ball to center field. That's obviously going to be caught, and he walks to first base. But you better believe if the center fielder drops the ball, he better be on second. Okay, then that's where the problem comes up.
This is an epidemic in the whole game, though. I mean, guys, we used to have a league. Look I have a lot of guys on from the 70s when I do my interview. It goes on to Fridays Friday mornings. And you had a bunch of guys who played the game then who turned singles into doubles and doubles into triples. Now it's the opposite. There's very few guys who play the game that way. They turn triples into doubles and doubles into singles all day, all night long. And it's so frustrating to watch. And they're going to lose their fan base. And it's the ESPN syndrome, right? Every ball they hit hard, they stand there and watch. Why are you standing there? Run. It's the easiest thing to do in baseball. You don't need any talent to run.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Torres, back to second. DJ at first base. Trade Voit. Get him out of there and get yourself a shortstop. I don't care if it's a third string. Somebody from the farm. Let's get that done. That's where he's comfortable at. Tired of this experiment. They're supposed to be a World Series team. They're sure not playing like one right now.
Mac, you don't just say, get me a shortstop and you solve your problem. It's hard to get the right guy, Listen, in the offseason, they could have re-signed Didi Gregorius, okay? I mean, that would have perhaps been a solution, but then you'd be moving Luke Voit out. And after the year Luke Voit had last year, so you're penalizing Luke Voit that's giving you great production at first base because Gleyber Torres isn't playing well at shortstop.
He's hurt well, by the way.
I don't know this. I don't know what the answer would be. Do you want Voit or do you want Torres? Get rid of one of them. I don't care. Get rid of one. Put DJ LeMahieu at second and get a shortstop. I don't care. You can't play. You can't have a guy at shortstop that's going to make errors like that. Period.
The other thing you got to take into consideration here is this is starting to affect his offense. His offense is not good anymore. He came here as a guy who was going to hit 20, 25 home runs in 300, and now he's a guy who's going to hit 35 home runs in 240. Right? And part of that is the problems he has on defense. Don't tell me it doesn't transfer to him at the plate and he feels more pressure because of it. They need a guy. There's enough offense in that team to do exactly what Max said. And DJ's okay at second base. Some guy tried to tell me he's a Gold Glover at second base. He's not. I mean, they moved him to first base in 25% of the games late in the game last year to replace Voit. All you need at shortstop on this team is a guy to make the plays that should be made, right? If Gleyber Torres can't make the easy plays like the other night, that was not a hard play. I don't care about highlight reel plays. Who cares about those? You need to make the plays that you need to make day in and day out. Maybe he's an outfielder. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't that great at second base either, but you're not as big a liability at second as you are at short. You need stability at shortstop on defense. Shortstop, catcher, center field, you have to have strong defensive players or you're not going to win.
Speaking of the Yanks, David Wells says he's boycotting the Major League Baseball because of the All-Star move. Now, I don't know what kind of weight that carries. I know he has a lot of weight on him, but I don't know if that carries weight in as far as the public goes. I agree with him. I'm not boycotting the Major League All-Star game because I don't watch it anymore because it's boring. It's not even a competition anymore. But I agree with him.
Well,
it was ridiculous.
I don't think he carries any weight. I don't think anybody cares what David Wells has to say except David Wells, myself. And I have my opinions about them moving. I mean, look at it. Again, we're baseball and these other sports. The players can get involved. I don't care. I really don't. Not the teams. The leagues should stay out of politics. This isn't a social. People turn into a social issue. It's not. It's a political issue at the end of the day, and they shouldn't be involved. They should not be involved in doing this.
I'd like to see a movement to move the World Series out of Atlanta if they're going to reach it. I want a Major League Baseball to say World Series cannot be played in Atlanta.
Never
say
have.
it now. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate now because if you move the All-Star game out of Atlanta, don't tell me if the Braves make it to the World Series, you could play the World Series games there because that's completely hypocritical.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Major League Baseball. I mean, hypocrisy is what we live on. So,
yeah, listen, and while they're at it, have the sponsors stop telling the teams what to do, what to say, how to say it, changing their name. I am tired of that too. They don't belong in that either. Sponsor the team in the game or don't sponsor the team in the game. I mean, the leagues have got to put a line in the sand with them, too. I don't want FedEx telling me what the team's name should be in any sport or who should be playing for the team. Get them the hell out of there.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good point.
I'm tired of that. I am tired of that. So let's get to the Patriots. Edelman may not play this year, Keith. You're a star wide receiver, great wide receiver for you for the last few years. He's still hurt. Or maybe maybe he's not hurt that bad and just doesn't want to play anymore. I don't know.
Gentlemen?
No. I think he's hurt. He's got chronic knee issues. He's had it for a while. Maybe he's kind of overplaying it because he doesn't want to be with the team. There's talk about the team may just eat it, let him go. They'll save $3.5 million on the salary cap next year. I don't want to see the guy go. They need, even with all the moves they made, I think he brings something to the team that's lacking, right? And even with these changes, I want a guy like Julian Edelman on my team, if possible. Now, if he doesn't want to be there, that's a different story. If he's trying to maneuver his way to Tampa Bay and be part of that, former Patriot squad down there, then God bless him. I don't want guys that don't want to be here either.
Right.
I mean, say what you also. Obviously, how I feel about Cam Newton, but at least he wants to be here.
Yeah. That's because no one else will have him.
Well, there is that. There is that. I was going to add that part.
So Lamar Arrington, he's an ex-Pro Bowler, and I guess he's an official on whose coach is on the hot seat or not. He says Bill Belichick's is on the hot seat. Now, that is so ridiculous for him to even say anything like that. Either he does not, even being a Pro Bowler, has no idea how football is run or how great Bill Belichick is and will continue to be over the next few years. I mean, you guys were just in a Super Bowl a few years ago and have won the division, 20 years straight. and now he had one bad year, so he's on the hot seat. I don't get it.
I read a lot of these stories. You read them in the Boston papers, to be honest with you, and it's shocking to me. As far as I'm concerned, Bill Belichick could not win a game the next 3 years, and he wouldn't be on the hot seat. He'll leave when he wants to leave. That's just as plain as that.
But Robert Kraft was complaining a little last week about the way they've been drafting, that they could do a little better job. And people wanted to interpret that as general criticism towards Belichick. Maybe there's a little dissension. I think it's people interpreting things. We don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. None of us.
You were talking about businessmen before, Jack, and Robert Kraft is a very smart businessman, and it would be horrible public relations for him to dump his 5-time winning Super Bowl.
No, I mean he wants to see things improved a little, because keep in mind, Robert Kraft butted heads with Bill Parcells, and Parcells coached New England because Parcells didn't want to draft Terry Glenn, and Kraft overruled him. He said our personnel department, we have a scouting department in place for a reason, and that's who makes the decision on a draft. So he butted heads with Parcells.
That was different. Their arrangement was totally different. Parcells was a coach. He didn't have anything to do with the front office. Bill Belichick runs the entire show. So it's you're comparing apples and oranges, and it chased Parcells out of town because, he had the famous quote, if they want me to cook the dinner, they ought to let me shop for some of the groceries. But,
he was a good chef, but he didn't do a great job.
By the way. Let's keep it, not to stick on Bill Parcells too long, but let's just remember he wanted Rick Meyer and not Drew Bledsoe. So that's about all you need.
He wanted Darian Connor. He didn't want Rodney Hampton. He took Jake Long over Matt Ryan. There are a number of Bill Parcells.
Like no other GMs make mistakes, guys. Come on. Stop piling on. The guy was a great coach. Jeez.
Wow. Great coach.
Every time we're on Bill Belichick, Jack goes to Bill Parcells. You tell everybody what a terrible GM he was. All I know is he took a team that was 1-14 or 1-15 one year and put them in the playoffs the next year. So
great coach.
It gets really old. And he also wanted Reggie White, and they told him no. So things happen that we don't know about too. So anyway. Back to Bill.
I know how Rick Meyer's career went compared to Drew Bledsoe.
Yes. And maybe Rick Meyer would have been good under Bill Parcells. We never will know that, will we?
Pretty sure he played for Parcells with the Jets afterwards and didn't do anything. But
anyway, let's get back to Bill Belichick, who we were talking about now, Bill Parcells. Bill Belichick.
I'm going to be in Jack's doghouse here pretty soon. I'll be sitting in there with
Jack. I'll be taking it all in. Listen, you guys live in the past. I'm focusing on this draft. I'll let you guys live in the past.
Oh my God, Jack, you're focusing on the future. That is the most craziest thing I ever heard in my life. Anyway, Bill Belichick, if he was let go, there would only be 31 teams that would want to hire him right away. So as far as Jack was talking about the draft, so let's talk about the latest rumor out of there. They're going to move up to the Cardinals spot to grab Fields. That's the latest rumor going on, and these mock drafts.
Who's going to move up?
Patriots are going to move up
to Fields.
To try and get.
Don't. There's a lot of rumors going around. I mean, that's a problem right now, right? For the next 3-4, what do we got? 3 weeks yet till the draft? That's all we're going to get. Crazy rumors. They may take a quarterback, but I don't think they're going to move up to do it because probably Fields or Trey Lance is going to be still there at 15 is my guess. And to be honest with you,
I'm not that sure. Keith, Denver goes at number 9. They need a quarterback. They're probably going to take one of them.
I've seen plenty of mock drafts that don't have them picking a quarterback either. That's the problem, right? It's all conjecture for now. But I think if our choices are coming down to Fields or Trey Lance, and I like Trey Lance's potential, but I don't think he's going to be ready to play next year. There's not going to be that big a difference from Trey Lance and Josh Fields to wait into the 5th round and taking a Kellen Mond or the kid from Stanford, Mills. There's still talent later on as good as the back end of this first round draft class, the quarterback wise, in my mind. Josh Fields, there's a lot of question marks about Josh Fields and his
Justin Fields.
I'm sorry, Justin Fields.
Well, that's his brother. Don't worry about it, Keith. Go ahead.
Josh Fields
No, but Keith,
player, actually.
fifth round, you're talking about guys like Jake Fromm, who's riding the bench for the Bills, AJ McCarron, who the Bengals take in the fifth round. Fifth round draft choices very rarely.
Right, we should wait till the sixth
Not
round.
in this league.
Brady, I think is what we got to do.
No, I mean, I'm sick of the Brady example.
First of all,
You throw the fifth round at me and not say that it never happens. I mean, there are.
No, I said it rarely happens. Very rarely happens.
Jack, again, you are giving out wrong numbers. Maybe as a quarterback,
examples.
most of the NFL players in the league right now that are playing all the time are like 3 through 6, Jack. Those are the majority of the players, not quarterbacks, but the majority of the players that play in the NFL.
I'm talking about quarterbacks here. That's what I'm only talking about.
Okay. So that is correct. We have a segment we do, Keith, every Thursday or Friday. We are sponsored by BSTBreaks.com to do this. BST Breaks is our official sponsor. And let me see if I can pull them up here real quick without losing our great flow we got going here. So anyway, that's BSTBreaks.com, official sponsor of our show. They're on the NESSP.info website. You can link right to their store. They are one of the best sports card companies out there. All the sports are going right now, folks. NBA, MLB, the NHL. We're getting close to the playoffs. They have all the cards you could want. Just check them out at the website. Click on their link. Put in the MacJack code to get a special discount. That's MACJACK. And you'll get a $10 at least off your order. They also have signed jerseys that are authorized. Check them out. It's a great site. So let's get to the ain't gonna happen, Jack. You're gonna share this with Keith, right? You're gonna play
Listen,
that.
you ambushed me last week. I would love to take an ain't gonna happen thing back with Gary Sanchez being an all-star. I don't know what I was thinking. Very dumb of me. But you never know what he'll do the rest of the year. But
hey, listen, was it Ingram became an all-pro last year, so anything is possible.
yeah.
So.
I'm stuck with Sanchez being an all-star. I said it, so I'm stuck with it.
Okay, so here's the first question. It ain't going to happen. This is where Jack looks into his crystal boxing glove and predicts the future, and Keith has something crystal over there he can look at. So let's give it a shot. Sam Darnold will be the starting quarterback of the Carolina Panthers next year. Is or ain't going to happen?
It's going to happen. It's not a certainty. Not a certainty, especially if they hold on to Bridgewater. I think they're going to compete. A number 2 and number 4, number 6 is a steep price to pay, but it doesn't necessarily lock them into Darnold. If he doesn't do really well in training camp and Bridgewater's still around, which he might be, anything is possible. But with that said, it's going to happen in all probability.
Keith?
Is going to happen. He's going to a team that I think it's a great fit for him. They got a great head coach who I love in Matt Rule. He's got a great offensive coordinator in Joe Brady. And I think that this is a great landing spot for Sam Darnold. And you're going to see a resurgence in his career. And Jet fans are going to be like, what?
But resurgence, where has he been? What resurgence are we talking about?
Resurgence.
His career. He's gone from the Jets because he never got there. And you're talking about resurgence? This isn't Drew Brees who had an off season coming back.
I don't know that resurgence has to mean that he was a all-time quarterback at one point.
Resurgence.
That's great, Jack. I agree with you, Jack.
He wasn't third pick in the draft, so a resurgence would be needed for him to meet those.
Fulfill his potential. That sounds better.
That's good. The Panthers, since we're talking about it, the Panthers go to the playoffs next year. Is or ain't going to happen? Jack.
Ain't going to happen. I mean, the Panthers lost a number of close games last year. They're getting Sam Darnold, so people might get excited and say, oh, they're going to the playoffs. I mean, if some of what Sam did for the Jets wears off on Carolina, They're not going anywhere. I mean, listen, they might be competitive again. They might be around 8-8, but then I don't think they're going to the playoffs. It ain't going to happen.
Well, I'm going to say it is going to happen. I had Carolina as my surprise team last year. I was a year ahead of time. Again, I think Matt Rule is going to be one of the great coaches in the NFL within a couple of years. They're making changes there. If they keep McCaffrey healthy at running back, I mean, that is a very good team waiting to happen. And I think they
go number 8 in the draft. What do they need really? I mean, I know your guy Devonta Smith might be in play at number 8.
He could be in play for them or one of the wide receivers. There's obviously a plethora of them.
Yeah,
plethora is the word. I used it on my show a couple Sundays ago about 10 times. I found out I didn't even know it, but I'm going to say there's a plethora of wide receivers available in the first round, and I think Carolina could be in play for one of them, or possibly some help on defense.
I could just hear the commissioner with the number 8 pick in the NFL draft. The Carolina Panthers select quarterback Justin Fields.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So we were talking about Yankees and their problems. I'm just going to say it. Aaron Judge will be traded. Is or ain't going to happen?
Ain't going to happen. He's Derek Jeter light. The fans love him. You could say he's kind of in a way the face of the franchise right now. And I think they're just going to, play this out with Aaron Judge. Hope he stays healthy and try to maximize him the best you can. You don't trade players like Aaron Judge unless the give back is something tremendous that could be a mega deal involving a Mike Trout, not streaming, of course. So he's gonna stay as a Yankee. It ain't gonna happen. They're not trading Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I would agree. It ain't going to happen unless they're overwhelmed, and I don't see them being overwhelmed. They got to find a way to keep him on the field. He's very important to the team. He's a great player all the way around, and you know what? He is Jeter-like. He gets it, right? He's a good guy, a good teammate. He just needs to stay healthy. It's a different situation with him in my mind than Sanchez, let's say, right? Those are two different situations. So that's not going to happen.
Keith, you'd agree Aaron Judge makes you feel good to be a Yankee fan. When you look at Aaron Judge, you feel good that you're a Yankee fan. You look at some of the other players, you don't feel as good about being a fan.
No, I talk a lot, when on my show and just when I'm talking sports in general about guys who get it, right? And there's so many guys that don't, but Aaron Judge gets it. Derek Jeter got it. They just understood what it meant to be a Major League Baseball player, how to carry themselves, and how to play the game. There's not enough of those around anymore. You just hate to give up on them.
Well, guys, he's going to be coming up on a contract, and if he can't produce,
they're going to have a tough decision to make as far as that goes, but they may play some hardball and win there.
We'll see what happens. Knicks will get to the playoffs. Jack, is or ain't going to happen?
That's a good one because we talked about it earlier. Right behind them are the Pacers and the Bulls. They can hold the Pacers off, I think. The Bulls Bulls are a team that's actually a little bit on the rise. But considering how many teams that are ahead of the Knicks, I'm getting this in my head. I have to feel it's going to happen that they'll snag the 8th spot when all's said and done. Going to happen.
So I need a little clarification when we say make the playoffs. They're one of the 10 or they win the play-in game. Is that what we're saying?
Oh, right. I'm thinking one of the 8.
I'm saying one of the 8. One of the 8.
So that means they win the play-in game. Okay. I'm going to say it will happen.
Okay.
It will happen. I think they've got, as Jack said, I think they've got enough there to at least hold off the teams behind them and maybe win that. They'll probably play in that play-in game most likely, but I think they'll win it and be part of it.
Is that considered a playoff game? Are you a playoff team if you're number 9 or 10? I don't look at it that way, but
I don't think so. Well, 7, 8, 9, 10 really is not. You got to play in to get into the
right. I consider any of the top 8 like in the traditional sense a playoff team. So maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way.
Well, hopefully the Knicks don't play the Bulls in that playoff game because I don't have a lot of hope there. Let's go with all divisions in the NCAA football will start on time no matter the COVID situation.
Ain't gonna happen if the COVID situation backtracks as anything like it was or is. No, it's not gonna. All games aren't gonna start on time. All conferences aren't gonna start on time. There's gonna be a problem somewhere in the country. So unless things can, really improve, it ain't gonna happen.
Keith.
Based on what I've seen here this spring, I'm going to say it is going to happen. Again, a lot of factors could play into that, good and bad. But, we're seeing fans everywhere in all the sports now, increasing numbers, full houses in Texas. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. But I'll roll the dice and say it is going to happen because there's so much money involved.
Well, he's Max mentioning everywhere, Keith.
No, I get it.
Not most places, everywhere.
No, I get it. I'll say I'm going to roll the dice and say it is going to happen.
I tend to agree with
I hope
Keith.
you're right.
Me too. So our last segment of the day, folks, is this day in sports history. Keith was good enough to let me tug him into the whole show. So in this day in history, guys, 1959, Bill Sherman hits 56 consecutive foul shots. Can that be done today? I don't know.
Foul balls, foul shots.
Foul shots.
Bill Sherman.
Yes.
Oh, the great Bill Sherman. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that topped by, Rick Barry got something like 88, and and Calvin Murphy got something like around 90, if I'm not mistaken. So
And
can that be topped 58? Oh, absolutely, it can be topped.
I'm talking about today, Jack. Could that be top today, you think, by anybody?
In one game you're talking about?
No, 56 consecutive foul shots. Could that be top today?
Over the course of a couple of, several games. Oh, absolutely. Why not? If it was done back in the day, why can't it be done now?
Maybe so. I don't know.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it'll never happen in one game.
One game is crazy.
Unless you're a good foul shooter, your name is Bill Russell. Maybe that would have been possible. But
But you know what? Watching the games today, I'm not so sure it will happen because they don't. It's one of those things again, fundamental things that guys don't practice.
Maybe on San Antonio. There's a couple of guys that can really shoot the ball.
You know what's astonishing? When they talk about Wilt Chamberlain's historic 100-point game, people don't. Now, Wilt Chamberlain was one of the worst foul shooters in NBA history, but for that game, he scored 100 points. He made 28 out of 32 shots from the foul line. So people don't realize he had it going from the foul line that game.
There you go. In 1965, folks, first game at the Houston Astrodome, Mickey Mantle gets up and hits his first indoor home run. It was an exhibition game, but in 1965, my fault. In 1965, Mickey Mantle hits the first indoor home run there. So that's pretty significant.
Nice.
An interesting fact there is they had to redo they wanted to have real grass in the Astrodome. They had a open window ceiling so the grass could grow theoretically, and you couldn't see the fly balls get hit. So they very quickly had to scrap that idea and enclose the entire stadium.
Yeah, it's funny when you mention. Now I know Keith how heavily Keith is into college basketball, but when I think of the Houston Astrodome, to me the most famous sporting event, and I'm including Muhammad Ali's title defenses there as well, was when the University of Houston with Elvin Hayes snapped UCLA's historic winning streak.
Her first
and
one,
what makes that game amazing. And then when they played the NCAA tournament, didn't UCLA utterly destroy them? So that had to kill UCLA to actually lose a game like that. But that was an emotional game with Elvin Hayes, the Big E for the University of Houston against Lou Alcindor, later to be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, that was a landmark game in college basketball history for sure.
No doubt. I just don't like the the indoor stadiums at all. You got to play it off the beams, and some beams are like 2 points instead of one, and then they got another flag they throw at you if you hit the cord and the electricity goes out. I just don't like watching those games. So in 1974, the San Diego Padres owner addresses the fans and says, ladies and gentlemen, I suffer with you. I never saw such stupid baseball playing in my life.
Wasn't the owner Ray Kroc who owned McDonald's? Dick
yes.
Williams, right? Dick Williams said when they signed him, the manager, the Padres, when they signed him to a contract extension, he said they celebrated. He went in the manager's office and they brought in McDonald's. So that's a way, yeah. So why not? You like McDonald's, guys, right?
Oh, Ray Kroc basically stole McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers. If you've watched the movie, it's very interesting. Interesting one.
Yes, he did. And, the thing I take from that, you're the owner and you're the one controlling, basically who's playing, and you're saying that's stupid baseball. So that kind of reflects on you a little bit, too. Two separate games.
George Steinbrenner, by the way, Mac, did the same thing. And after the 81 World Series, he put it on the marquee at Yankee Stadium, apologizing to the fans.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, somebody's got to do something. The Giants owners have been apologizing for years over there. Two separate games. And one night in the NBA, David Thompson of Denver hit 78 points. And George Gervin, he hit 63 in 1978. Two separate games on the same night. Some he hit 78 points and the other one hit 60.
Well, there's a story behind that. That was for the scoring title, I believe. I forgot who won it that year, Keith. Maybe you could clarify with Matt. I think Gervin maybe went first, got 63, and then Thompson counted with 78. And I think one of them felt they had wrapped up the scoring title, and then the other played a phenomenal game. But obviously the team had to be selfish, getting them both the ball all the time to rack the points up.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but that story that sounds very familiar to me, Jack. So I think you're probably pretty close to accurate there.
When it comes to information around, he may not get the answer right, but man, he knows all the information around it. He'll blow your mind.
I'm on the outside of the ballpark, but I don't have a ticket where they don't let me in. But I'm around the area to get the latest.
Oh, Jack's out of sight with information. In 1981, first start for Fernando Venezuela, and he shuts out the Astros 2-0. Great pitcher. Unbelievable pitcher for the Dodgers. So that was his first win, guys.
He was baseball's version of a rock star when he pitched.
Yep.
Him and Vida Blue before him and Mark Fidrich. Those guys, certain pitchers draw big, big crowds. I mean, those guys were box office. Fernando Valenzuela was charismatic to, the largest degree.
He was somewhere between 19 and 39 years old, I think, that year, too. We aren't quite sure.
Yeah, very young. I know that. In 1985, Tom Seaver sets a record with 15 opening day starts. And even though we're on different games, I'm telling you, I think Tom Seaver's top 3 of all time. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Great pitcher. Great pitcher. If you're teaching your kid how to pitch and want him to pitch right mechanically, watch Tom Seaver.
You mentioned 1985. The next season, Seaver was with the Red Sox when they went to the World Series and played the Mets, and he was hurt. But he was in uniform in the Red Sox dugout. Would not have been the greatest theater had Seaver come into the game. Imagine that famous Game 6 instead of Bob Stanley. They throw Seaver in to try to close it out. That would have been one of the more dramatic moments in baseball history.
It's so bad that he got hurt because he contributed pretty heavily down the stretch for the Red Sox once he was obtained. I think he went 4-1 down the stretch and secured a division.
No doubt at all. And our last event that happened, big event anyway in history, 1989, Rickey Henderson steals a record 800th base. To me, and I've watched a lot of leadoff batters, to me, the greatest leadoff batter of all time, hands down to me.
I can't argue. You said it best.
Yeah, so, okay.
Do we have time to tell a real quick Rickey Henderson story?
Go right ahead.
Rickey Henderson, he's about 42 years old, joins the Padres, gets on the team bus to go to the ballpark, he sat in the front and he goes, Ricky, you can't sit there. That's for tenured players. And Ricky looked up, as probably only Ricky can, and said, 10 years? Ricky's got 20 years.
There you go. There you go. So Keith, with his last minute comedy to make your day bright, folks, I really appreciate that. We love having Keith on. Guys, I want to thank you for joining us. For our Friday show, we'll be back tomorrow, 8 to 10 a.m. with the very popular Mac and Jack's debate show. Thank you again to Byron Williams for joining us. Thank you for Keith for stopping in again and every Friday as he does. And tomorrow we'll have our MLB Yankee expert, Dr. Paul Semendinger, to join the debate. And I know the answers to the debate questions from him this time, Jack. So we'll see what happens. It'll be really fun. So, guys, have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Remember, if you can't see us on screen, check us out on iHeart, iTunes, Pandora.